Kevin Hoffman and Nick Pagano's book project is about the classic novel Great Expectations. Great Expectations takes place in the early 1800s. Please note that these pictures are not the actual characters used in the book.
Pip, a young orphan who lives with his sister and her husband in the marshy country of Kent, sat in the cemetery one evening looking at his parents' tombstones. Suddenly, an escaped convict springs up from behind a tombstone, grabs Pip, and orders to bring him food and a file for his leg irons. Pip obeys, but the fearsome convict is soon captured anyway. The convict agrees to protect Pip by claiming to have stolen the items himself.
One day, Pip is taken by his uncle Pumblechook to play at Sadie's house.
The Sadie's house belongs to the wealthy Miss Havisham.
During his visit, he meets a beautiful young girl named Estella, who treats him very badly. He still manages to fall in love with her and dreams of becoming a wealthy man so he might be worthy of her.
However, Miss Havisham wants Pip to become a common laborer in his family's business.
Eventually, Pip decides to become apprenticed to his brother-in-law Joe, who is the village blacksmith.
Pip works in the forge unhappily, struggling to better his education.
Pip eventually encounters Joe's malicious day laborer Orlick. One night, after a fight with Orlick, Pip's sister is viciously attacked and becomes disturbed. Pip suspects that Orlick was responsible for the attack.
One day, a lawyer named Jaggers gives Pip strange news. A secret benefactor has given Pip a large fortune, and Pip must come to London immediately to begin his education as a gentleman. Pip assumes that Miss Havisham is his secret benefactor, and that the old woman intends for him to marry Estella.
While in London, Pip expresses disdain for his former friends and loved ones, especially Joe, but he continues to love Estella. He eventually learns to act like a gentleman. Pip leads a fairly undisciplined life in London, enjoying himself and running up debts.
Orlick reappears as Miss Havisham's porter, but is fired by Jaggers after Pip reveals Orlick's criminal past.
After a while, Pip's sister-in-law dies, and Pip goes home for the funeral, feeling tremendous grief and remorse.
Pip is angered at this, but he feels morally bound to help Magwitch escape London. He is pursued by a man named Compeyson, his former partner in crime. Pip discovers that Compeyson was the man who abandoned Miss Havisham at their wedding, and that Estella is Magwitch's daughter. Miss Havisham has raised Estella to break men's hearts, as revenge for her pain. Pip became a boy for the young Estella to practice on. Miss Havisham delighted in Estella's ability to break Pip's heart. Pip learns that Estella has married an upper-class idiot named Bentley Drum.
Pip makes a visit to the Sadie's house, where Miss Havisham begs his forgiveness for the way she has treated him in the past, and he forgives her. Later that day, Miss Havisham's clothing catches fire and she goes up in flames. She survives but becomes disturbed. In her final days, she will continue to plead for Pip's forgiveness.
The time comes for Pip and his friends to help Magwitch escape from London.
Just before the escape attempt, Pip is called to a meeting in the marshes, where he encounters Orlick. Orlick is on the verge of killing Pip when a group of friends arrive and saves his life.
Pip tries to sneak Magwitch down the river on a rowboat, but he is discovered by the police, who were tipped off by Compeyson.
Magwitch and Compeyson fight in the river, and Compeyson is drowned.
Magwitch is sentenced to death, and Pip loses his fortune. Magwitch thinks that his sentence is God's forgiveness, and dies in peace.
Pip falls ill. Joe comes to London to care for him, and gives him the news from home. Orlick, after robbing Pumblechook, is now in jail. Miss Havisham has now died.
Pip decides to go abroad to work and trade. Returning many years later, he finds Estella in the ruined garden at the Sadie's house. Her now former husband treated her badly, but he is now dead. Pip finds that Estella has become kind, and the two leave the garden hand in hand. The end. We hope you have enjoyed our presentation.